أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you again for joining us for this session 3 of this Surah Al-Shu'ara. As I indicated last week that perhaps we may be only able to cover this surah because it's a long surah with 227 verses, and the interest is going into details some of the verses. So let's see what we can do. So up to now we have discussed about the surah generally, introduction to surah and some of the aspects of the surah, and then we discussed the first section, section of the surah. And then we discuss about Nabi Musa as it appears in the story of Nabi Musa. Now, inshallah, today we'll look at the story of Nabi Ibrahim. As you can see here, that in this section we covered the first section, we covered Musa and Harun. We covered Musa's sorcerers embrace truth, that means, and Musa rescues children of Israel, right? Now we are going to discuss, inshallah, about Nabi Ibrahim, how we exhort Azar, that means his uncle or father, discard idolatry. And this is quite interesting. This itself we can see from ayat number 69 all the way to ayat number 104. If time permits, we may go into Nuh also today, but let's see how we progress, inshallah. So we go to now, if you are keeping the Quran in front of you, we go to ayat number 69, so to Shu'ara. Bismillah ar-Rahman. In this ayat begins by saying, Watlu alayhim naba Ibrahim. Relate to them or narrate to them the account of Ibrahim. No, naba Ibrahim. Is qala li abihi wa qawmihi ma ta'budun. When he said to his father and his people and his qawm, ma ta'budun, what are you worshipping? No? Qalu na'budu asnaman fanadhallu ala laha akifin. That no, we are worshipping the idols, and not only that, but we are constantly in devotion for them. Now we are doing this as a part of devotion, as a part of ibadat, that we are worshipping them. It's not just, for example, admiring them, but we are doing worshipping, and also, as he says very clearly, no, that we are constantly in devotion to them, right? Qala hal yasma'unakum istad'un. Nabi Ibrahim just asked a very simple question. Do they listen to you? Do they hear you when you call upon them? We'll inshallah come to it why he's asking this question. أَوْ يَنْفَعُكُمْ أَوْ يَضُرُّكُمْ. Or do they benefit you or can harm you? These idols, do they benefit you or can they harm you? قَالُوا بَلْ وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا كَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ. The response was that we are just doing it simply because this is what our forefather was doing it. We have just seen our ancestors doing it, and we have followed, just the practice. This is the beginning, right? Now let's look at the discussion in detail. So we'll look first of all this commentary. This is before discussing these verses. Allama Tabatabai Marhum, may Allah elevate his position, has given a short introduction, which was quite interesting, and I decided to actually type it the way he has written there. He says Ibrahim had a separate argument with but before that, this is actually comes after that. Here's the introduction, right? He says ayat number 69 to 104 refers to Ibrahim's naba. Watlu alayhim naba Ibrahim. Naba, he says, is an important account. So it's not, naba does not only mean, for example, that a news. No, it is an important news, something which is of concern, which is of importance. And because it is important, it is also important to us, not only important to people of Quraysh, who were the first listener of this verses when Quran was revealed, because remember we said that this surah was revealed in Makkah. It is the beginning surahs of Makkah, right? That was when he stood up for God's unity as per his pure adulterated fitrah. He says, what Allah says, that he stood up, just to promote that, unity of Allah based on the fitrah, that unadulterated fitrah. Now, why he's talking unadulterated fitrah? This is quite interesting because I don't know how many of you are aware of Nabi Ibrahim's life. Those of you who are interested, I really recommend you to. I really would recommend you to read a book, a chapter on Nabi Ibrahim by Sheikh Arastu, Sheikh Ibrahim, Sheikh Rizwan Arastu, Emissaries of God. Emissaries of God by Sheikh Rizwan Arastu. Those of you who go to the SEC, the book is available also in the bookstore. It is a thorough work on the life histories of the past prophets, besides Prophet Muhammad, all of them. And this is the only book which has been written and researched into English. Up to now, many of the books what we hear about the Prophet's life is just a translation from Arabic. But this Sheikh Arastu has actually taken pains in reading all the Arabic sources, tafasir, hadith book, and also Christian sources, and then came up with this book, God's Emissaries. It's a great book. So just read the chapter on Nabi Ibrahim. You'll notice there that it is mentioned that Nabi Ibrahim was, after his birth, he was just inside the camp. He was inside the cave on account of the fear that he will be killed. He was in the cave. So when he came out, right, of the cave, and when he saw these people worshipping idols, his fitrah was not adulterated. His fitrah was not influenced by any external forces because he was in the cave. He was being raised there. You see, so this Allah says that his pure and unadulterated fitrah, which is innate or primary nature in a disposition, while his people unanimously worshipping idols. And this is also interesting. He says all his people used to worship idols. Imagine he comes out of this cave and sees the entire ummah, entire population is just worshipping idols, right? Unanimously, you can see the worshipping idols. There was so much influence. Hence, he dissociated himself from them, defended the truth, and then happened what happened to him. And of course, after that, he faced a lot of difficulties until a time came that even Namrud decided to throw him in a fire, right? In this story, there is a sign, but most of his people did not believe in him, as mentioned at the end of this set of verses. Do you see this thing, brothers and sisters? I can see some of you are also teachers in madrasa, right? Nabi Ibrahim's story is so powerful, so strong, right? Even then, Allah Tabatwa says that at the end of this verse, you see that in spite of all his efforts, only few people believed him. Often people, when they put efforts as a lecturer, as a Maulana, as a teacher in madrasa, even sometimes as a parent, right? You work hard and you see that your children, your students, your nephews, your nieces, your audience does not believe you, does not listen to you. And you sometimes give up. You say, why should I continue? Why should I not do something else which is more useful? No. When it comes to preaching, when it comes to talking the truth, don't look at just the number of people who accept it, right? Quality is very important. You might have affected only one person and change his or her life. That is enough your efforts, right? So you can see, it says that in spite of this, he had most of his people did not believe in him. Now, the purpose is to narrate, utlu. Now, watlu, if we just remove waw and it becomes utlu. This is Arabic grammar, how you should know, utlu. That means narrate with them. It's a command. Prophet being told utlu. To the Arab polytheists, that means mushrikeen, particularly to the Quraysh, for he was their forefather who stood up and to spread monotheism and establish true religion. Because Ibrahim also was the forefather of all the Quraysh, Prophet and all the Quraysh. So this was actually very relevant to them. Quran is not only talking to the Muslims of that time or mushrikeen of that time and then later on Muslims, no. The Quraysh were the first audience of these verses, right? And Ibrahim was their forefather, their ancestor, right? So it's a story which is very relevant to them. No? None of the at his time believed. None of the people at the time believed La ilaha illallah. But he aided Allah and Allah aided him until Tawheed was established in the Holy Land and Hijaz, right? Imagine Allah Ta'ala says that he aided Allah. Now, how can you aid Allah? This is what Allah says, no, that no, those people, just Unsurullah in Tansurukum, no, Ya Lazina Aman Unsurullah, no, all those believe, just help Allah, right? Allah will also help you. So this is that in Tansurullah Yansurukum. If you help Allah, Allah is going to help you. So he is that he helped Allah and Allah also helped him. Allah also aided him. And until that time, that Tawheed was established in the Holy Land and Hijaz, right? The Mushrikeen of Makkah could learn from this and dissociate themselves from idolatry, just as Ibrahim dissociated himself from idolatry from his father and father's community. Do you see this thing? That he actually, even dissociated himself from idolatry, from his own father or uncle, his guardian, right? And his father's community, because he just came and he saw this thing. So this is something Allah Ta'ala gives just as an introduction that how important mission of Nabi Ibrahim was. So let's go now and look at those verses and discuss, right? So what do alim Nabi Ibrahim? O Prophet, narrate to them the story of Ibrahim, the account of Ibrahim. And as you said, the important account, Nabi Ibrahim. Is qala li abihi wa qawmihi ma ta'budun. Allah Ta'ala says that Allah says is qala li abihi wa qawmihi. Why did he say he talked to his father and his community, his father's community? Because qawmihi here is qawm of his father. Because he has a separate debate with his father, Azar, and separate debate with the community. That's why Allah says is qala li abihi wa qawmihi. You see the beauty of this literature, right? It's Ma ta'budun. What are you worshipping? Ma ta'budun, you can see, what are you worshipping? This question is trying to tell you what is the reality of what you are worshipping? What kind of things you are worshipping? How does it make sense to you that you are worshipping idols? The way question is a very powerful way. Ma ta'budun. His questioning itself is an invitation for you to think what you are doing, right? Qalu na'budu asnaman wa nadhallu laha aqifin, right? They said that we are worshipping idols, and not only that, fa nadhallu laha aqifin, that we are devoted to them constantly, because you can see they use the present tense, right? Fa nadhallu laha aqifin, that we constantly, all the time, right, are just worshipping them. Allah Ta'ala says that in this case, what they are trying to say, that these idols are not just symbolic of some gods. No, they have reached a stage whereby they are worshipping idols themselves. Although initially the idol worshipping just came as just representing, for example, because they could not see God, they could not, for example, point to God, they could not embrace God. So they made all these idols. And then these idols were just representative of those higher powers. But over time, people forget about it. Like, for example, one of the biggest objection people hear about Alam. You find when Alam comes out, we just finished Muharram and Safar. When Alam comes out, there is a group of people which go towards Alam and kiss the Alam, right, out of respect. But there is a group of people you'll notice in every center, they would not do that. They would just sit aside, stand aside, and they would not do that at all. If you ask them why, and they would say that we don't want to worship this Alam, right? Now what has happened? He's forgetting those people who are saying that we don't want to worship this Alam. Nobody is worshipping Alam. Even those who rush to kiss the Alam, because Alam is a symbolic way. It shows that the message of Imam Hussein through Abbas Alam is alive. So by kissing it, by showing respect or reverence, we are showing that reverence to the mission of Imam Hussein, that here we are. We are actually, these are all showing this respect to this thing. I don't want to just divert from this thing. It's just part of, when we say in the Zayat Raza, that I wish that we were with you. We will, when a foods of thousand azima, right? Only that we were with you, O Imam, we would be successful. So at the same time, these people, when they were worshipping idols, not idols is just as symbols of greater gods. No. A time came over time, because they're doing it just, those idols themselves became objects of worshipping, instead of as a means of worshipping. So you can see they say, فَنَظَلُّ لَهَا عَاكِفِينَ قَالَ هَلْ يَسْتَمِعُونَكُمْ إِسْتَدْعُونَ. Now why does he ask him, do they listen to it? Allah Ta'ala says, on account of two reasons. He says, when a person worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is that hope that Allah listens to your dua, right? He listens and has a knowledge that what you are doing and listens to it. So he's asking, هَلْ يَسْمَعُونَكُمْ إِسْتَدْعُونَ. You are worshipping him, you are praying to him, you are supplicating to him, right? Do they listen to you? It's automatically, because if a God does not listen, then worshipping him does not make any sense. Because worshipping is, we pray to him. Even in namaz, those namaz you can see number of places, even the Surah Al-Fatiha, right? As we start Surah Al-Fatiha, which is a must in every namaz, as the hadith says, La salata illa bil Fatiha. You cannot have namaz except with Surah Al-Fatiha. Even there is a dua, right? Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim is a dua. So we actually, hope that Allah has a knowledge what we are doing and listens to it, right? And then he says, أَوْ يَنْفَعُونَكُمْ أَوْ يَضُرُّكُمْ, right? أَوْ يَضُرُّونَ. Are they benefiting you or are they going to harm you? Again, Allah Ta'ala says, benefiting, because when a person worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is hopeful that his prayers will result in Allah listening to it and Allah rewarding him or benefiting. For example, let's say a person is praying that may Allah give him a child. A person is praying that I should remain in safety. A person is praying that Allah may give risk, right? So those are the benefits. Or harm, to stay away from the harm, right? Now, he's asking that, are they going to harm you? No. If you, for example, were not to obey them, will they harm you? Or will they, for example, punish you? Or are they going to benefit you? This is a simple thing, right? Then they say, قَالُوا بَلْ وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا كَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ. Allah says that they should have just said la. No, when they say, do they benefit you? They could have just said no. Do they harm you? No. Do they, for example, listen to you? No. They did not get into that kind of debate because they realized that Nabi Ibrahim's question, although they were very simple, but they were powerful and relevant, right? They were really thought-provoking questions, right? Which would really actually provoke them, no? So they just took recourse into trying to say, we're just doing it because our forefathers are doing it. قَالُوا بَلْ وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا كَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ. They said that this is what we found our forefathers doing it. So what they're trying to say is just a practice which has been there for ages and ages in our community. We are doing it. The question doesn't come. And that is why, brothers and sisters, if you find, for example, sometimes Mu'mineen ask questions regarding what we are doing, whether it's Azadari, whether it is Sufra, anything else, don't condemn them. At least the positive thing is that they try to understand. Yeah, they don't want to just do things because our forefathers are doing it. They are not doing it because you and I am doing it. They want to know. It's the curiosity which makes them. So your first response should not be at all why you're asking or why you're doing kufr. Do you think that we are wrong and you are right? No, that should not be our case. No. If there are answers to what you are doing, please share with them. Talk to them rather than just saying that you are skeptic. No. Because you can see these people, they did not even ask. This is a simple question. They did not ask that what our forefathers are doing it. Does this make sense or not, right? So they just said, قَالُوا بَلْ وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا كَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ, right? These are some of the comments which I said. Just you can read it and you'll know what I said. These are just mentioned here. See, what do you worship? He's asking about the real essence of their God, so he can argue because he was opening an avenue to start discussing with them. It is very important that whenever you want to talk to somebody, find a reason to start, right? It was the right after he left his camp and entered his community. As I told that he was in the camp, he was in the cave, right? They continuously adhere to these gods for their own sake. See? This is what it meant. They were just trying to worship those for their own sake. Yes, in fact, we'll come to it. Yeah, we don't believe that this father was his real father. We believe that he was his uncle, right? But just now we are just translating as it is. Azar, we believe, was not his father, was just his uncle. So they took recourse to argument that they were simple followers without understanding the reality of the rituals, right? Then Nabi Ibrahim continues. قال أفرأيتم ما كنتم تعبدون. He says, have you considered what you have been worshipping? أفرأيتم ما كنتم تعبدون. Have you just seen, or have you considered, have you regarded, have you thought about it? ما كنتم تعبدون. What you have been worshipping? أنتم وآباؤكم الأقدمون. Not only you and your forefathers. What Nabi Ibrahim is trying to say, that to him, just the fact that something is age-old practice, no, it has been taking there for long, does not automatically mean that we should do it. Not at all, right? So, أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْبُدُونَ أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ. So he's also saying this, because they say that our forefathers have been doing it, so he said that, have you even thought that you and our forefathers have been doing it? Is this, have you just considered, have you given a thought about it? فَإِنَّهُمْ عَدُوٌّ لِّي. Subhanallah. This is what is known as dissociation. This is known as tabarra. Bara, that means you dissociate yourself. Now, tabarra doesn't just mean lan and notan, but tabarra literally means dissociation, right? So he says, فَإِنَّهُمْ عَدُوٌّ لِّي. Now, interestingly, he says, فَإِنَّهُمْ. Hum is used for intelligent being, right? Those who are intelligent. He uses this thing as a sarcastic, right? Because to you, he is these idols are God. To you, these idols are, excellent, but intelligent being. But I don't think so. Although you believe him as intelligent being, as gods, as idols, so that's why he says فَإِنَّهُمْ. He could have just said فَإِنَّهَا, right? Just as something which has no intelligence. But he said فَإِنَّهُمْ, they are an enemy to me. So this very clearly, he does not mince his word. Because when they could not answer him clearly and understand the logic, so he comes and says, as far as I'm concerned, these are enemies too. Illa Rabbal Alameen, except the Lord of the universe. Now, subhanallah, this surah is so beautiful. Those of us who were with us last two sessions, we discussed about how Nabi Musa also explained who's Rabbul Alameen. When Firaun asked him that who's Rabbul Alameen, Musa explained. If you remember, we discussed this thing. All these discussions have been recorded. If you go to our site, our website, ali43, just /ali473, and you'll get those recordings, right? So here it is. They say that that he says these are my enemies except Rabbul Alameen. And now, subhanallah, now comes, you can see now he is giving us definition. He's defining Rabbul Alameen. He is now giving us the attributes of Rabbul Alameen. So again, as we said last time, there is no way that a makhluk can define a khalik. There is no way that we, the human beings with all the defects and limitations, can really describe or explain or give details about Rabbul Alameen. But then Allah helps us by quoting the prophets like Musa and Ibrahim. When they were asked to say who Rabbul Alameen, they do this, right? So here is, in fact, last time Musa was asked by Fir'aun. In this case, no. Ibrahim is not even asked. Himself says that no, all of these idols are enemies except Rabbul Alameen. Then he says to them, because remember he asked them, do they hear you? Do they, for example, benefit you? Do they, for example, harm you, right? And they had no answer, yes or no, right? Now he's going to talk about his Lord, Lord of the universe, who is listening, who is beneficial, who benefits, who can harm, for example, can punish, right? And all the good attributes and blessings of Allah is going to mention, right? So he says, إِنَّهُمْ عَدُوٌّ لِّي إِلَّا رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ الَّذِي خَلَقَنِي فَهُوَ يَهْدِينِ. Beautiful. No, one of my favorite verses of the Quran, he says, الَّذِي خَلَقَنِي فَهُوَ يَهْدِينِ. The first thing, most important he talks about is that he created me. So biggest thing that I worship Allah because He's my creator. You might have nephews and nieces and students who sometimes are rebellious, who don't say namaz. The first answer to that is tell them that I'm just asking you to worship your creator. Somebody has created you, right? If you believe that God has created you or some power has created you, so this is the first reason that we are worshiping. So, Alladhi khalaqani. And then within that ayat, within the ayat, he says, Fahuwa Yahdeen. And that fa is no continuous. He who created me, and not only that, and it is He who guides me, right? It is connection, and therefore He guides me. You can even say created me, and therefore He guides me. That means He takes care of my affairs, right? And the interesting thing is Yahdeen. Yahdeen is, those who know Arabic, is a present tense, continuous tense, right? So Allah khalaqani is a past tense. I was created, for example, right? But then every day as I am going going on with my life, I need guidance. I need some kind of direction, right? I need somebody to take care of my affairs. So you can see it says, فَهُوَ يَهْدِينَ. He creates me and therefore He also continuously directs me. It's an ongoing process. Do you see how beautifully He says? So that's why never think, for example, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after creating has left us. It's not possible. At every stage His guidance there. فَهُوَ يَهْدِينَ, right? وَالَّذِي هُوَ يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ. And it is He who also feeds me and quenches my thirst. Allama Tabatabai says, now Nabi Ibrahim is talking about all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the bounties, but these things are very important he talks about. First of all, after creation, the most important bounty is that of guidance. Everybody needs guidance and direction in life, right? So that is the most important blessing after Islam. After creation, the most important blessing is that of Hidayah, of Islam, right? And then, of course, eating and drinking, because a person needs to survive as he goes, right? So he immediately talks about that, no? فَهُوَ يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ الَّذِي هُوَ يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ. And then he says, Nabi Ibrahim says, Alladhi again, right? He could have just said, وَهُوَ يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ, but he said, وَالَّذِي هُوَ يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ. Because this also are important ni'mat. And these are also the signs which shows the greatness of Allah. Subhanallah. In other words, he's trying to say that every time you eat food, as you are consuming food and drinking, that also is a sign of Allah. You know, I'll tell you one thing, Subhanallah, many years ago, somebody shared with me an interesting thing. He says that no, we don't realize that when we are eating food, and when you eat the food, you enjoy your food, right? And you would like to eat. That urge in you, that now you feel the hunger and the urge that you want to eat, that urge creates that you will now trying to make the food, cook the food, come up with all the kind of recipes and everything, right? And what is pleasant to you. It's because the urge is there. If the urge is not there, you won't even eat the food. See, a person who is sick, right? You try to go to the hospitals and give them the best of foods. They are not interested at all, right? That at all. You can see because they're going through that situation that they no longer enjoy the food. Do you see? So this also, Allah Ta'ala says that the fact that He says, وَالَّذِي يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ. Again, He says, it is He who. This itself He's trying to convince people, just see the God around you. He created you. He takes care of your affairs and directs you, and He feeds you, and then He quenches your thirst, right? Every time, brothers and sisters, not only that, and that is why, when we finish drinking water, yes, we have been told, remember the thirst of Imam Hussein, which is correct. So we do that. Salawatullah ala Hussein, wa ala awlad Hussein, wa ala ashab Hussein, wa ala ansar Hussein, wa la'atullah ala qatil Hussein wa ashabi, right? We read this dua. As the sixth Imam has taught us, we do this. But we also should say, when we asked to recite the dua, Alhamdulillah, sakana ma adman, walam yaj'alu milahna ujadan bil dunubi. Praise be to, this is the fifth Imam who has taught us. Now, after drinking water, you recite this dua. Alhamdulillah, sakana ma adma. Praise be to Allah who has quenched me with on a fresh water, right? Fresh cold water. Lam yajal milan ujajan bizunubi. He has not made it as bitter and salty on account of my sins. In other words, Imam is trying to say that I commit so many sins that I don't deserve this fresh water and sweet water and enjoyable water, right? So you can see this is also sign of Allah. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. Another interesting point, right? Subhanallah. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ. If I get sick, now he's ascribing this to himself. Why? Because his idea is to talk to his people about the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, sickness is not a bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sickness is lack of the bounty, right? A person healthy is a bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So because of that, he ascribes to himself, إِذَا مَرِضْتُ. If I get sick, فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. Yes, if I get sick on account of my carelessness, on account of overeating, on account of not being care, whatever it is, right? It is, whether it is from Allah on account of my own making, right? One thing is for there, Allah is the one who gives shafaat. So I always say that this ayat is, because it is ayat from Allah Quran, don't be surprised, brothers and sisters, if one of you who practices taqwa in their life, and one fine day, if you just write this ayat, إِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ, and put in a piece of paper, and if you keep it under the pillow of a sick person, don't be surprised that that alone would help the person recover, in addition to his medicine, right? Because it is ayat of Quran which clearly says, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ, right? That if I get sick, then He provides me cure, right? He provides me the remedy. He gives me shafa. So it is quite interesting that he says this thing. Another important point I would like to make here is that sickness is natural. It's not always comes as a punishment. Because you say, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ, right? He is the prophet of God. He spent his life. Remember in one of the lectures I said that Ayatollah Mohsin Karati says that he was champion of Tawheed, who Nabi Ibrahim. So the person who, just now we also read Ulama Tuatabai says that he's the one who spread Tawheed in the Holy Land, right? He was the champion. So why would Allah punish him? Sickness is just natural, right? It happens. After sometimes on account of food, right? So you can see, he said, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ وَالَّذِي يُمِيتُنِي ثُمَّ يُحْيِينِ. Again he says, and he who gives me, make me to die and cause me to live, right? So of course, as we said that he wants to discuss about the bounties of Allah. Why would he talk about death? Nobody likes death. Is not death a destruction? No. Because as far as Islam is concerned, death is just a change of one life to another life, right? It's just moving, it's a transfer of this life into hereafter. As the hadith says, that the gateway to hereafter is death. So death is just that gate which we pass by. Except that because people are living with us, are no longer with us, we cannot communicate with them, we go and now bury them, right? So we think that is the end of everything. But that's not the case. This really shows that even death is a nemat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thumma yuhyin. This thumma yuhyin and then gives life. Allah Ta'ala says this refers to life after death. Because he's talking about Walladhi yumituni thumma yuhyin, and then gives life, right? So then gives life shows, of course, it is life after death. You see how beautifully within these verses he talks about creation. He talks about the name of this world. He talks about life after death also. Do you see this thing? Now, ثُمَّ يُحْيِينَ, right? وَالَّذِي أَطْمَعُ أَن يَغْفِرَ لِي خَطِيئَتِي يَوْمَ الدِّينِ. And he whom I hope, right? Do you see أَطْمَعُ? Now this also is interesting, right? To be forgiven is nobody's priority. It's not, for example, it's your right. It's in fact Allah's kindness that we are being forgiven. So that's why it says, وَالَّذِي أَطْمَعُ, I just hope, I desire, I just have the tamanna that He will forgive me. أَن يَغْفِرَ لِي خَطِيئَتِي Yawm ad-Din. So you can imagine a person like Nabi Ibrahim, who is, Allah says, Ittakhadallah Ibrahim Khalila, Allah has taken Ibrahim as a friend, who was such a great prophet, a patriarch of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. He also is hopeful that will be forgiven. What about us? Don't even at all think that, oh, I have already done Tawbah, I got up for Namaz al-Shab, I recited 300 times Al-Afwa, I recited 7 times Astaghfirullah, Rabbi wa atubu ilayh, so I'm forgiven. No. We are hopeful they'll be forgiven. Nabi Ibrahim also says, وَالَّذِي أَطْمَعُ أَن يَغْفِرَ لِي خَطِيَّتِي يَوْمَ الدِّينِ. Of course, he talks about khatiyati, not sins, just mistakes, right? Now, what are those mistakes? Inshallah, let's see what Allah Ta'ala has to say. Let's see the next slide. See, he says, you have no proof of worshipping idols except blind following, so this worship is completely false, void, and baseless. This is how it is so powerful. It was, no, that is what the message it was giving, the way he was arguing with them. Therefore, they are my enemies because worshipping them is only a harm to my religion and detriment to my soul. So you see, why does he call them enemy? Because if I worship them, they are my enemy because it's going to harm my religion and my soul. Do you see this thing? So certain things which are wrong, which people do, they don't realize that it's like the enemy, You can see these are enemies to me, right? Then he says he does not respect this practice merely because it is a long history. The fact that you are saying your forefather doing it, for him that doesn't matter at all, right? Because it's not right. But the Lord of the worlds is not an enemy to me, right? He clearly said. Then he describes the attributes of Allah. Creation and direction of all affairs are inseparable. No, as Allah says, here, Nabi Ibrahim, Allazi khalaqani fahuwa yahdin. So Allah Ta'ala says that creation and direction in affairs are inseparable. Allah could not have just created and just left us without any kind of guidance, any kind of direction, any kind of, for example, ways to achieve the objective. No, He is there. They're inseparable, he says. Then he continues, he says that Yahdini, showing the way to both worldly and otherworldly benefits. Present tense, that is an ongoing and continuous act. Guidance is the greatest blessing after creation. Not even but greatest there's a typo there. Guidance is the greatest blessing after creation. The blessings of food, drink, and healing refer to all material bounties. They are most important of other bounties. They are most important from other bounties. These three things are very important, right? Ibrahim ascribed sickness to himself, because his point is to list God's bounties, while sickness is loss of bounty. He repeats, right? Alladhi, as we said, to show that all these are bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Rabbi, habli hukman, wal hikmi bis salihin, right? But before that, let me just share with you about that, khatiyati, right? Mistakes. He says, what is meant by mistake is not transgressing. Allah Ta'ala says very clearly. When he says, Allazi yaghfir khatiyati, that he'll forgive my mistakes, these mistakes are not transgressing God's authoritative commands. Those commands which Allah gives to his banda and especially Prophet, is not that. Mistakes of people like Ibrahim is when in times he was not fully engaged in the pure remembrance of Allah due to the necessities of life, for example, such as sleeping, eating, drinking, socializing, right? Those things are part of the life. No, but at that time he was not fully engaged in ibadat. So maybe that could be a mistake. Even though from another angle, these are also acts of obedience, right? For example, let's say that it is makruh. We have been told it is makruh to keep awake at night. Except there are some exceptions, but generally it is makruh, right? I always tell people that if you get a job, if there's a choice that you can work in the daytime, don't work at night, if there's a choice. But there's no choice and you're looking for a job, you have to support your family, then it's okay, right? So why? Because we need that rest at night. When a person rests at night, and then next day you are fresh, and then of course continue with your life in ibadah. I don't know how many of you have actually experienced. I know people who are suffering from insomnia and for long. They would be they have suffering this thing. In fact, there is also statistics that in Canada there are so many people. I'm forgetting how many percent, 20 or 30% or 15%, they suffer from insomnia, right? So this is also name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've been asked to take rest. وَجَعَلَّ اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَالنَّوْمَ سُبَاتًا, right? That Allah has made night as a covering and naum as a resting, right? As sleeping as resting, right? So that we have the strength to can do ibadat. So he says also this in another angle, these are also acts of obedience. Then he says, mistakes and sins have their own degrees according to a servant's level of servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why there is a saying which says, Hasanatul Abrar, Sa'iyat al Mukarrabin, right? The good deeds of the pious are evil deeds for the intimates. So although you and me, we do good deeds, but compared to what those who are Mukarrabin, those who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is just like a Sayyat, an evil deeds. My namaz, the quality may be so low, right? Although it's a good because I'm doing namaz, right? But compared to Mukarrabin, it is just, if Mukarrabin of Allah, the one who is close to Allah, intimate with Allah, if he were to say namaz the way my namaz is, it will be an evil for him, right? So you can see, this is perhaps when he talks about what khati'ati, what mistakes, this is what he refers to. We go back to the previous slide, which is the ayat, right? We go now. Here he says, Rabbi habli hukman wal hikmi bis salihin. Subhanallah. Oh Allah, grant me a judgment, a judgment, wal hikmi bis salihin, and unite me with the righteous. First of all, what is this hukman? Hukman is that kind of judgment in trying to understand everything correctly. Because sometimes, for example, we do things putting so much time in putting efforts, right, in worshipping, in reciting dua, in doing amal, but our understanding may be wrong. So we are spending time, we are wasting our time, right? He says, no, give me the judgment of understanding things correctly and truly. It's true essence of it, that I can understand and then follow. So everything what I do, actually I'm doing it the way it is required, the way Allah requires of me. So it's powerful dua. Wal hikmi bis salihin. And he says, in Allah, join me and unite me with the righteous. He doesn't say with the people, those who do right things. Because those who do right things is different. The righteous itself. People who are so right that the very essence of right is in them. As we say, al-haqqu ma'ali wa'ali wal-haq, right? Truth is Ali and Ali is truth. So these salihin are not just people like you and me that who do good acts. No, those are people who do good deeds, inshallah. But no, these are salihin. Those who are righteous, that means the very ibadat of them, the very act of them, the very deeds of them, the very things they do is free of defects. It's full of good things, right? So that's why they are salihin. Wal hikmi bis salihin, join with those who are righteous. So you can see Nabi Ibrahim is trying to say that, oh Allah, my understanding of Tawheed and my understanding of the rules required and all those things should be correct. And as I implement those things, also I follow those who have the essence of it. This is what it's a very powerful dua. You can see a number of Imam prophets also have played in the Quran, wal hikmi bis salihin, and join me with those who are those who are righteous. And you should always pray this thing. One of the du'as which I like reciting in Qunut, and those of us who did witness this thing, I say, Rabbi zidni ilma wal hikmi bis salihin. Oh Allah, increase me in knowledge and join me with those who are virtuous, those who are righteous. That means I should not only perform good deeds, but I reach that stage that I am with them, I join them, right? It's a higher stage of that. Try to understand the thing. So it's a powerful dua, and that's what Nabi Ibrahim is asking, right? وَجْعَلْ لِي لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخِرِينَ, and confer on me a worthy repute among the posterity. Subhanallah. Allama says that people translate this thing, people understand this thing as that Nabi Ibrahim is praying to Allah that, oh Allah, let the posterity, let the descendants and generations to come and praise me. No. Ibrahim is far above that. Ibrahim would not be there to pray to Allah that, oh Allah, let people praise me. What is there with the people's praise? You know, not everybody praises you with good intention, right? With sincerity. So why would Nabi Ibrahim even pray that thing? No. Allah Ta'ala says, no, that's not the case. What he's trying to say, وَجْعَلْ لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخِرِينَ, he says that, no, in my generation, in my posterity, let somebody be there also who also takes up the same objective, same goal of preaching Tawheed. That is what he's trying to say. No? Confirm me a word repute among the posterity. Right? That is what Lisana Sidkin, that the way he is trying to understand truth and preaching truth, let others also have the truth on their on their tongue, and they also preach truth. You can see how much he was concerned. That the mission of Tawheed, the preaching of Tawheed should continue. وَجَعَلْ لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Right? And in fact, in Surah As-Sad, Allah says Allah has actually accepted his dua, and he has been remembered by generations. No, today, for example, subhanallah, you can see he's considered as a patriarch of Christianity, of Judaism, and Islam. Everybody talks great about him. So of course, that way he's already remembered, right? But what really he wants is that this mission of Tawheed should continue. That let somebody also take over this. وَجْعَلْنِي مِنْ وَرَثِ جَنَّةِ النَّعِيمِ, and make me one of the heirs of the paradise of bliss, right? Warath Jannat Naim. This could mean, this is just my understanding, I could not check it in other places, maybe if I get, I'll try to check it. But he could also mean that not only that maybe enter me in Jannat, but make me as an heir to the Jannat. Warath of Jannat, that means he should be in a position that no, he should even give shafaat to others, right? There should be because, for example, if you are inheritor of something, that means you have some kind of authority. If you just are Jannati, then okay, on account of your good deeds, or on account of other people's du'as and good deeds, you enter Jannat. But no, waj'alli, what is happening in Jannat Naim? So my understanding, this is just my personal understanding, but inshallah, next class, if I get some more information, I'll try to share with you. Waj'alni min wasa Jannat Naim, make me amongst those who are the heirs of the paradise of bliss, Jannat al-Na'im, right? وَغْفِرْ لِي لِأَبِي إِنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الضَّالِّينَ. Now, mind it that this, although it says, إِنَّهُ كَانَ, that he was amongst those who had gone astray, doesn't mean that he's praying for his uncle while he was dead. No. He's praying for his uncle, just before his death, because he was on the wrong side. وَغْفِرْ لِي لِأَبِي إِنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الضَّالِّينَ. Just forgive my uncle, my father, for he is one of those who has gone astray, right? وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ, and do not grace me on the day that they will be resurrected. That means people will be resurrected on that day, not disgrace me. In other words, whatever he's trying to pray, nothing should be left, right, in his life, that there should be a cause of disgrace, right? His life, his preaching of Tawheed, his acting, his practicing of the pure Islamic requirements should be such that he should not, and he should not do anything that there should be disgrace, right? So you can see. And plus, not only that, see his belief in the hereafter, his faith that there is a time when we will be all resurrected. It's a reality. And he's praying that وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ, when others are definitely going to be disgraced, and then they'll be raised, I should not be disgraced. You see, so the hereafter is a reality. I remember reading in one of the secondary sources about Majlis books that when Janab Khadija died, Fatima, she was 5 years old, maybe Fatima. She was 5 years old, right? And when she was 5 years old, at that time, when Prophet took Bibi Khadija for the burial, and when he came back, Bibi Fatima asked, where did you take my mother? Now, of course, being a girl of 5 years old, she was missing her mother. Prophet realized the trauma in the feelings of Bibi Fatima, that what is she going through, right? And then I read in this book that Jibreel came and said say salams to Fatima. Allah is sending his salam to Fatima. And then he said to Fatima that your mother is with us, amongst the Huri, amongst with the angels, in a peace. She's in a peace, right? So at that time, Fatima being 5 years old, she responded by saying what? Allahumma anta salamu wa laka salamu wa minka salamu wa ilayka ya'udu salam, right? That this, you can see that you are peace. Allahumma anta salam wa laka salam, and salam belongs to you, is for you. Wa minka salam, and peace comes from you. Wa minka salam wa ilayka ya'udu salam, and to you the peace returns, gets back to you, right? So this shows that even at that age, such young girl, 5 years old, the belief in the hereafter was a reality. No, she knows that her mother is there with Allah, and then she says, yes, indeed, O Allah, you are peace, and peace comes from you, and peace will go back to you. So in the same way, you can see his belief that Wala tuksini yawma yub'asun. Now there was a question here where he says that why does he say that they will be resurrected and not we will be? No, this is interesting. Perhaps again, this is just my understanding that because he's talking about tukhzini, because before that, he is talking about wala tukhzini, do not disgrace me. So there will be people. His more point is not about resurrection. His point here is that he should not face disgrace. So when they will be disgraced, if he would have said, for example, when we will be resurrected, then he had to say separately about disgrace, right? But we say that there will be people who will be raised with disgrace, or when we raise them with disgrace. So perhaps because that his right when they'll be will be resurrected, because he's trying to talk about their disgrace. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. And then he says, on the day when the wealth and the children will not benefit. It is important that this will be very important thing, that in this world always we get our strength, our support, our influence, our pleasure, all those things we get through wealth and children, right? And these two things, for example, give us all kind of influence, ability, power, pleasure. But these are the things which will not benefit on the day of judgment. That means this connection which we have with children and our attachment to the wealth will have no benefit at all on the day of judgment. So it clearly says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. And there are a number of verses in the Quran also in the same context. Of course, we'll later on perhaps want if you can give you about references to that. But clearly says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. On that day, right, when I'll be so all alone, right, when my children, when my wealth will not benefit me, or will not benefit anybody for that matter, right? That is the time I'm praying about that, right? إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ salim. Qalbin salim is that heart which is free of shirk. There is no polytheism. Is free of all kind of baggages in the heart, dislike with somebody, envy, jealousy, hatred, right? Waiting for the revenge, all those kind of things which are there in the heart, feelings of those. He says, if somebody comes with such a kind of heart, is not going to benefit. A person has to come with a sound heart, a pure heart. Meaning, this is something which we have to really learn. It's not easy. All the time, when somebody does something to us, we immediately get upset and we always think, how can I take revenge? How can I get back to this person, right? No, this learning to forget and forgive, to have a clean heart, all these things requires training. Small things I'll just give very simple thing. For example, a very simple example, though there are so many things. We drive car, right? Most of us drive car here, right? We drive car, and what happens? Somebody is just driving next to you, maybe because you are slightly slow. He comes just the next second line adjacent to you, slightly stops, and then swears at you, or for example, hoots, and then goes further in front of you and just comes completely in front of you, just trying to say that, no, I've overtaken you, right? And you get angry, for example, and you also hoot, for example, you also swear at him, or you see who this person is. All those things show that, no, we have lacked that patience. Forget about it. No, he is doing like this. You just, for you, as if nothing has happened. What you know, the only thing you can learn is that just check your speed. Were you really very slow that it, for example, disturb this person? If you were, then it was your mistake. That no, you're supposed to maintain certain speed, you are not doing it. But if you are maintaining your speed, for example, it was 80 and you are 80, 85, fine. He wanted you to be at 100 there. No, you would not do that because you want to follow the speed. So as long as you realize that, no, I'm not very slow, nor am I, for example, coming in his way, still he did not like it, fine. Just as if nothing has happened. Now, you're letting go this thing and it has just gone. This is your training that, no, you realize that, no, small things does not disturb you. But for example, immediately we also hoot, we also swear, we see, oh, who's this person? Oh, this person is a Chinese. Then we give a statement, all Chinese are like that. Is this a black African? All blacks are like that. No, we can't do that. What we have done in the process, we have generalized a statement and blaming every Chinese and every black person for that on account of one mistake, which is you're already doing something wrong, right? So having a heart which is sound, free of envy, free of grudges, free of shirk, free of hypocrisy, right? All these are sound heart, right? It is such an important thing that a great scholar by the name, I thought this Rave, right? He first composed a book, Quranic Kabira, with 80 sins. Now, according to one hadith, he mentioned all those 80 sins, Quranic Kabira. It became so powerful and so liked by people that they said, you write something more. So as a continuation, he came up with another work known as Qalb Salim. If you just Google, you can get the entire translation on alislam.org, Qalb Salim, right? But just using this phrase from the Quran, Qalb Salim, a sound which is hard and pure, right? So, but the point here I would like to make as we close is that even a person like Nabi Ibrahim, right, is praying to have a qalb, a heart, a mind, an attitude which is sound. It is very important, brothers and sisters. Let us really work hard for that. It's not an easy thing. I realize myself that every stage we are challenged with situations whereby we react immediately. But clearly you can see here Quran is telling us that on that day, what is really going to help us, not our wealth, not our children, but a heart which is sound. Illa biqalbin salim. Although it's 9:30, but I don't mind delaying 3-4 minutes if there are any questions. Even the question, why he did say they'll be resurrected. Actually, Allah Ta'ala mentions there in Tafsir, I realized, that here you assume does not only means that. That means on the day when people will be resurrected. So of course he also is part of it. He says the correct understanding of this is the day when the people will be resurrected. So of course he's part of people. Any questions, any clarifications? Again, we thank you all for joining us. We'll repeat this thing or maybe slightly more tomorrow morning if you know anybody who can be interested. And then inshallah we'll continue one more session next Monday. Although we will not be able to complete the surah, but at least you get an idea, right? The gist that what Quran has to offer. It's quite interesting. As I myself preparing for these lessons, I also learned a lot in the process. التماس الدعاء. There's a question here. Okay, let me see what is the question. I cannot see your question, Mehdi Raza. Here they say that the question added by Mehdi Raza. Did I miss your question? Okay. I don't see any more questions. Thank you again for joining us. Inshallah, we'll continue tomorrow morning also and also next Monday. صلي على محمد وآل الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد